I think our need to control everything is ultimately why we're in control of nothing. I think a lot of us who are micromanagers, who are overthinkers, who are analyzers, we try to mitigate and micromanage everything because it gives us an illusion of control, right? And paradoxically, the more we try to be in control, the more we try to micromanage, the less control we have. And I think a key aspect of being in control is simply letting go, is surrendering. So I want you guys to think about what I'm about to say for in a minute. Really ponder on what I'm about to say, right? Within our physical body right now, like this body of mine, that body of yours, there are billions, trillions of processes taking place that we're not consciously aware of, right? Things that we don't really have to worry about. We don't have to worry about beating our heart or pumping our blood because these things are happening without our conscious control, right? These things are taking place unconsciously. We don't really have to worry about breathing because most breathing, is taking place unconsciously. Sure, we can, control our breathing, but for the most part, most breathing is taking place, and all we have to do is just let go and allow it to take place. We don't have to worry about digesting our food because all we have to do is simply eat, and our digestive system, takes care of our digestion, right? So there are things right now happening in our body that is keeping us alive, sustaining our life, that we're not even in control of, that we're not consciously controlling right now in this moment. And all we have to do is simply let go and allow these things to happen, right? And so what if all the things that we desire in life, our goals, our dreams, our aspirations, the relationship that we want, everything that we want in life, what if it requires the same degree of letting go, the same degree of surrendering? What if that is all we need to do? To surrender the need to be in control. And obviously this doesn't mean that we don't act, right? This doesn't mean that we don't take action. You can't sit around and expect that business that you want to succeed in, or that business that you want to build. You can't sit around and expect it to just suddenly build or drop out the sky, right? Or you can't expect for you to get a relationship if you don't put yourself out there, if you don't take action, right? So I'm not telling you to be passive and not take action. What I am saying is that, what if all we need to do is simply take action, is simply show up in life and show up to life and give our best in every possible moment, and then surrender the rest, surrender the how, surrender the when, surrender the where, right? What if all we have to do is simply give our best in every possible moment, right? What if that's all we have to do, and just simply allow life and allow, universe, our God, our source, to take care of all our needs, of all our desires? What if that is all we need? I think for the most part, a key aspect of manifesting or getting our desires is simply letting go of the need to have them, is operating from a place of internal abundance, feeling as if whatever it is that you desire, you already have it in this moment, right? Having that strong emotional conviction. I think really that is the source of everything that we desire in life. Conscious action from a place of, abundance, right? Not from a place of scarcity, right? And in reality, right, control is simply an illusion. The reality is that we're never truly in control. We like to feel as if we're in control, but we're never truly in control. Because the thing about life is that life is so complex. There's so many complexities and intricacies in life. We never truly know what is going to happen. You might have a business that is booming today, and tomorrow something happens and then your business goes into bankruptcy. You might be in a relationship today and things are going great, and then tomorrow the person no longer feels the same way. So control is merely an illusion. Things are going to happen that you have no control over. But the one thing that you can control is your reaction to those things. One thing that you control is how you perceive those things. And I'm not saying this for you to be, or I'm not saying this to be pessimistic or negative or whatever. I'm just merely, exposing you to the truth of life. That all you have control over is your internal interpretation and your internal reaction. Right? And I think a key aspect of influence in life, right? Keyword influence in life and influencing your reality is simply first being in control of yourself. Is self-mastery, right? Having yourself in your possession and being in control of yourself. Because there's no way in which you can, influence the world or create the world that you desire if you're not in control of your reactions, or you're not in control of what is within you. Right? A lot of us are way too swayed by the things of the world. A lot of us make bigger problems out of our problems. One simple thing might happen and immediately your whole world is completely thrown off. Right? I think once you change your perception of your problems change. I think when you change what you're looking at, the thing that you're looking at changes. And I think life is so complex, like I said before, that some things might happen in your life and you never truly know why it's happening. Sometimes it's happening for the best. Sometimes your old world needs to be deconstructed so that your new world can be constructed. Things happen for a reason. And our human minds don't allow us to see why they happen. We're so stuck in this dualistic perspective of life that we don't really see that behind the scenes everything is truly working in our favor. Even when things seem as if they're going wrong, they are always going right. Always, I promise you that. Right? So control, or trying to control, or preventing things from happening is fruitless. Trying to control everything from happening is fruitless. All you can do is control what you can control. Be in control of your actions. Be in control of your reactions. And everything else, you surrender. You accept. You place yourself in a state of non-resistance because you understand that life is always working in your favor. Life is like a river, right? It's always flowing. It's always moving, right? It never stops. Always flowing. And I think we suffer when we try to make a stationary bed in an ever-flowing river. I was going to say bread. We suffer when we try to make a stationary bed in an ever-flowing river, in an always moving river, right? And so it's about going with the flow of life, going with the flow of the river. Be in control of our reactions and our perspectives. Not trying to rearrange the sun and the moon and the stars. It's impossible to do that because those things are out of our control. It's about acceptance, surrender. That is how we truly gain control of our lives, by simply gaining control of ourselves and our reactions. And recently I've been learning what it means to surrender more and more, or learning what it means to let go. And letting go doesn't mean that you force yourself to let go. You don't force yourself to let go. It's more so about being conscious of when you're holding on. And that might seem as if those things, or what I just said, is like a play on words, but those two things are very much different. Forcing yourself to let go is the same thing as holding on to the idea of not letting go. So you're still very much holding on. But when you're aware of when you're holding on, what you're doing is that you're sort of, creating this sense of awareness within you. You're igniting the flame of awareness within you. And I talk about awareness all the time, and I say that awareness is the true catalyst of change. What you're not aware of is always in control of you. And what you are aware of, you are in control of. Shout out to Anthony DeMello. So when you allow awareness to arise within you, true change begins to take place. And it's not change that is forced. It's not change that you have to force. You can't force yourself to let go. All you have to do is be aware of when you're holding on to things. When you're holding on to the things of your past. When you're holding on to the relationship that didn't work out. When you're holding on to the fact that people did you wrong in the past. Right? When you're trying to control everything in your life. Right? That is the power of awareness. It creates a change that is natural. A change that takes place deep within. So many of our problems are self-inflicted. They come from our perspective. They come from our need to be in control. Right? They come from a place of non-acceptance. Right? They come from us, holding on to things of our past. Or trying to change the past instead of being in the present moment and living and being one with life. Right? Most of our problems are based on our perception. And once you change your perception, ultimately your life changes. Once you get with the flow of life, then your life changes as well, because you're not resisting the flow. You're going with it. You're not trying to control everything. You're going with the flow of things. And you're getting a hold of yourself. You're getting a grasp on yourself. And so I say all this to say, we need to get rid of this idea that we're always in control. Things are going to happen in life. Things are going to happen out of your control. A lot of us are even trying to control the reactions of people to us, how people react to us, or how people feel about us. That's ludicrous. That's crazy. You can't control people's perception. There are a lot of things in this world that we can't control. But the one thing that we can control is our reactions, is our outlook, is our perspective. And once you gain a hold of those things, then you're better able to live a more congruent life, a better life, a more peaceful life, a more stable life, a life of true peace and happiness. But when you're trying to control and micromanage everything, you will only continue to suffer. And you will only continue to perpetuate the cycle of endless suffering and anxiety and fear and depression or whatever. So it first starts with you. You have to gain a hold of yourself and stop trying to control life. Be one with life. Show up to life and give your best in every moment. And when you do give your best, right, don't bullshit yourself. You know when you're giving your best. When you do give your best, simply let go of the rest and trust that something, no matter what that thing is working in your favor. So thank you guys for watching. Once again, take care of your mental health. Give yourself a bit of love every day. Prioritize yourself, put yourself first, and live life with a sense of openness. And trust life. Right? Trust the flow of life. Really believe that things are gonna fall into place when they're meant to fall into place. And don't force it. Don't force it. Let go. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for being here with me. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace and blessings.